I'm good, man. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. Yeah, it's midnight here.
Early morning here.
Yeah, I'm a late night owl, so it's all right. It's kind of I'm used to this. I'm always staying up, so I like when the world's asleep. That's when I try to come out.
So it's midnight there.
Yeah, it's midnight. Yep, just turned
Thank you.
midnight.
Thank you. First, I want to thank you for accepting my invitation and accepting to talk with me.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I thank you for extending the invitation and looking forward to talking with you. Uh, it's I always try to say yes to anything that comes, about through, you know, Instagram or, through poetry connections. I find that it always tends to be meaningful and, enriching, I gain something from it. So I try to, you know, always, do what I can to, you know, take advantage of those opportunities. So,
You're talking about your poetry. Can you introduce yourself to my audience and to the world who watches this video?
sure. Yeah. My name is, Nick Thiel. I, uh, post poetry under the account Midwest and Blessed on Instagram. Um, been doing that. I've been at that account for a little over a year, maybe a year and a half, about. And I from Appleton, Wisconsin, United States. And yeah, that's about all there is to it. I'm a father. I worked in IT. Right now I'm kind of unemployed, Corona, everything, um, other things going on. But so I'm writing a lot right now, working on a novel and kind of putting out my first kind of collection of poetry. Uh, that I want to try to get published. So yeah, that's what I'm up to. Yeah.
So, what is your profession?
What's that?
Profession. What is your profession?
Oh, profession. Yeah. So I was doing IT, help desk, but I went to got kind of a 2 year degree in cybersecurity essentially and
Okay.
networking. So I do that. Not really my not really my field. I'll say this, like, I've never had a job I liked. I've never wanted to work. I've never like well I'm disciplined about the things I think are important. The work that I do when I do it is I do it to the best of to 100%. You know what I mean? Because if you're gonna do something, I say do it 100%. Do it, give it all that you have. But things that I can't see the value in, I just kind of have to fake it. So I just kind of picked IT because I thought it was the easiest thing that I could kind of fake my way into and make the most money at the same time. So that's kind of why I chose it. It's just sort of arbitrary, like easiest. I can sit down and I can, play with computers and see what happens. So that's
You know what? I'm master of technology. I did masters in software engineering.
okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my graduation subject is computer science and engineering. My master subject is software engineering. And even I was not into my field, my subject field. So I was not I'm not interested in going into that. So I thought I have another talent, which is writing. Like you
Yeah.
write about poetry. So I write about the daily observations that I see, whatever I see with my naked eye or with my ears, with which I observe with my ears. So I just want to write it. I just want to show to the people. So leaving
Yeah.
the technical part and coming to the non-technical part.
Yeah. It's kind of a very much a big contrast.
Yeah.
Like completely different way of approaching reality. So it's a little can be a little schizophrenic at times, trying to balance the two or You know, I struggle with having like the energy to write sometimes, I guess, you could say. Like, it can take a lot of my mind power, or, like a lot of just like, I don't know, like creative juice, but you know what I mean? Like, it's like you get like used up by that kind of technical process, like you
Yeah,
become
yeah.
a machine, and, that's kind of what I'm struggling with, with trying to find a job right now. Is like, I don't want to compromise my writing, because that's really what I live for. I really live to write, to create. Um, that's all I have at the end of the day. That like I really put my all into that, and so I don't want to just work a job to make money I don't care about, to to not be able to do what I want to do. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, yeah.
so I'd rather starve and do what I want to do than you know uh, give myself, sell my soul, basically. You know what I mean? So, but I have a daughter, so that's a complicating factor. You know what I mean? Like, she's number one. She's everything. She is. There's like writing, and then there's my daughter. And so I have to stick around for her. I have to make money for her. I have to give her everything she wants, because otherwise it just kills my soul not to see a fucking frown on her face. You know what I mean? So that's a hard thing to navigate sometimes. You know?
So, so cybersecurity is something where you have to be completely logical and you have to uh, uh, see whether it is completely secured or not, whether the things are, the information is secured or not, or the third person is trying to attack, or the cryptography,
Yep.
the encryption and decryption. So all these
Certain
things.
paranoia, certain paranoia to it. Yeah, like you have to. I like the rebellious nature. There's a certain, like, you think about breaking things. Like that's I like to I like to break systems. Like, I like to I don't like systems. I don't like control. I don't like power. So I find there's a certain uh like, I don't know, I guess justice in that, in like breaking and finding systems that are secure, because to me that's fair. We should be able to trust our systems,
Yeah,
and we should be able to know them, and it should be transparent,
yeah,
what's going on. And so there is a certain ideology there that I relate to, of radicalism, of the information technology. I do believe that, philosophically, that computers are, and information needs to be free, and needs to be, and that this is a good thing. I support that. I fight. So cybersecurity is something that, like, this is like the most relatable thing to me that I could do.
yeah, yeah. That's what my
Like,
next question is. Yeah, that's what my next question is. How this technical subject helped you in in your poetry, writing something which is poetic?
I think it brings to my mind a certain, and I only write on typewriters, and I mention that because there's a certain mechanicalness of it. There's a certain adherence to a format. I think, to me, like a poem should uh feel like a poem, I guess. You know what I mean? Like, it should have a structure to it. There should be you know, it should exist in a logical way, almost, you could say. You know what I mean? I I think my poems, I try to create a world that makes sense, or you can see kind of what I'm doing, what I'm building, what I'm trying to present. Like you said, you write down about, like life, as it is, and I try to present that, but in my own way, that like, with a simple system that, almost like code, like my own code.
Yeah, yeah,
So I do approach reality. I think reality is kind of from that perspective of, like programs, I guess. Like, everything is like kind of like a program, and we're creating, us creating poetry. We're creating like a semblance of this. All art is like a reproduction, in some sense
Yeah.
of reality. So we're almost writing a program, right? I mean, in a certain way, like that. I want you to experience that, to hopefully relate to and to bring about some kind of mutual understanding that can't be expressed just in an everyday conversation or in something. It's something that goes beyond because it's been turned into art, So
Even I have seen your work. It looks like a program.
I, I can see that a lot of my work, like a lot of stuff, like it's meant to be like taken a few different ways too. I like to like play with language, like break language. I like to break language a lot. Try to see ways where I can twist and turn it and play with it because I think that I mean like I love rap music. I listen to like current rap music because I like the way that they freely play with language.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
playful. It's rebellious in the sense that it doesn't adhere to any sort of grammatical structure or it makes sense within that universe.
Correct,
And
correct.
I enjoy creating that universe and trying to uh, it, present a universe. You like present the fact that you can create your own. You can create your own symbols. You can create your own, meaning and present, and live in you don't have to accept anything. Just you can break things. I guess I'm coming back to that. I'm coming back to that thing. Like you should try to break reality in some sense. You should try to test it and see what you can, what you can build with it. And I think language is a very powerful thing that people take for granted sometimes.
Yeah, yeah.
How much that our brains are like an operating system. That like our thoughts are, the language we use expresses a lot more than just the words themselves. It's there's like sometimes you can tell a lot about a person just by a few sentences. How they structure their thoughts, how they, you know, I guess the meta programming. So I like to try to get to the meta. What's behind the language here? Like what's language is really a mask. It's and what is it pointing to? What is that experience? What is that emotion? Where so I don't know.
So you understand programming languages at the same time you understand English language, which is with which human beings connect.
Yeah.
So you are connecting with computer and you are connecting with human beings.
Yes, I would say that I try to approach. I think I approach like human language in that way, that in a programming way, and in information, um, and and try to yeah. I don't know how to describe that. I guess you could say that it's very it's very matter of fact. It's very like, uh, but it's also hopefully triggers something. Hopefully triggers the event for you. Like hopefully it runs hopefully the program runs and get the intended result. You know what I mean? Like I I write to try and affect people, to hopefully get their brains to run my program. Hopefully it doesn't break, and it has the intended result. I guess you could say.
Can I say your poetry is so deep, only intellectuals can understand it?
Yeah, I guess you could say that. On some level, I think there probably is a lot that goes, I try to think I try to write on two levels, I suppose you could say. Like I try to write on different levels, you know, that like because sometimes I think you can only understand things by going beyond the thing itself, by like this is very intellectual, this is very like philosophical and sort of like I understand that this can probably sound like nonsense to a lot of people, but I guess there are things that can only be expressed by 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 maybe leaving them unexpressed, but leaving them unexpressed in certain ways. Certain ways that only certain people probably understand that. You know what I mean? Like there's certain like references or wordplay. That if you have to kind of know. I think you have to know sort of or have reference. Like I use a lot of biblical imagery. Or you know what I mean? Like that's something that that's a program that was run in me. Like I was raised with Jesus, the Jesus script, and so I do a lot of like biblical, allusions, that are meant to evoke sort of what that story represents. So I guess you could say, yeah, I try to use a symbol system. I use a lot of sort of like common phrases. I like to mix, sort of low culture, high culture, sort of everything together. And I try to just kind of pack it all in to something new, and I just, I want to, I like to know everything. I want to know everything, and I want to present that. I'm kind of a maximalist.
So how much,
Want,
yeah, so how much experience you have in this cyber security in IT field, in information technology?
so um, I have a degree in it. I also have a degree in religious studies uh, from like our kind of big university here, the University of Madison, um, Wisconsin, and so I sort of have that, like I said, early Christianity and Islam, and then I went on to do cybersecurity. I don't have a lot of experience in it. I worked pretty much kind of like help desk or support essentially, with some security related there. But I just have like the 2 year degree. Kind of a lot of it was just building networks. Learning the basics of how sort of uh, how to secure networks, how to kind of how to hack. Like the sort of the idea behind how it works. In theory, I guess you could say. Not much experience actually getting to the nitty gritty of it. Uh, like I don't know if you have a tech degrees, so like associate's degree or
Yeah,
sort of
yeah.
level of understanding. That's where I place myself. Very much just an amateur. I feel like I'm kind of an imposter when I talk about this stuff because like I don't go in depth. I'm not the guy who's gonna sit around and code or do this in my spare time. You know what I mean? Like it's something like I can get into, but it's not a passion of mine. You know, um, like writing is really what I live for. And everything else kind of just feeds into that. In some ways. I
So,
just reality as a writer. I'm just observing. You know what I mean? Like I'm always just witnessing everything. And like writing it down in my head. I guess you could say.
so, uh, coming to IT, you understood about the symbols and letters and the words, the technical words, technical terminology. And when it comes to poetry, here the vocabulary uh, you're using and you are understand the vocabulary. So at the end of the day, both are languages, different languages, right?
Yeah.
You're playing with the words and you're using it anywhere where you want it. That is like your personal effect that you want. You are creating uh, some mixture, some collection of words, some collection of sentences. You're just throwing it on the observer and trying to create impact and effect. That
Yes.
is your
Yes.
mixture. That is your mixture. So
Yes.
from where it is coming from, the mixture?
Where does that come from?
Yeah.
Um, I'd say it comes from. That's a good question. Um, I think it comes from a approach to living that is, in some sense, I question everything. You know what I mean? I try to make sure that the beliefs I hold, or I don't even hold beliefs really, so I don't hold any beliefs, but I make sure that the things the thoughts that I have, the ideas I put out in the world are unbreakable, or you know what I mean, to me, that they are what I can arrive to, that I don't accept anything. You know what I mean? I question everything. I'm not so much a skeptic as just almost totally agnostic, like I don't know, I don't know what we know. I don't know, and I don't have any time for people who tell me to believe anything, because how do you know what you know? You know what I mean? How does anyone,
Yeah,
really,
yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And so the, the, uh, the willingness to experiment and to try new things and to, uh, you know, jet out and sort of take tradition and sort of do whatever I want with it, because I think that's what that's what I respect in art. I guess, a great thing, a cool thing that was said to me was like, I want to make art that hasn't been made, you know, that because I want to make art for me. If I could find that art to consume, like I would already be enjoying that, but I
Yeah.
haven't found that, so I want to fill that void. I want to make art that I can't find,
Okay.
that expresses the way I live, the way I see reality, because you know, that's something that is important to me, to have a unique, a worldview that is my own, you know, that I didn't inherit from someone. No one told me to believe the things I believe. No one told me how to act, how to think, and I've gotten a lot of trouble just for doing the things, I do because of that. You know what I mean? Like people will try to stop you from that. Like when they see you trying to become free of those traditions, of those, uh, whatever they are, culture basically. When you try to throw away culture, you will be, people will rattle the cage a little bit because they don't like people. People hold that to be sacred, to be, cherished, you know, because it's an identity, and when they see someone try to cast off their identity and just be totally a total observer, total, radically living, they will, tend to look down upon that, But I feel like the only thing you can do to really be, uh, a have a unique voice, to have a voice that's your own. I don't see how you can do that without just not, setting out and not taking anything for face value. Just trying to, destroy everything, and see what you can create. You know, I guess.
So when you're creating art, using your own vocabulary, using your own letters and symbols, when you express it through your own medium, definitely there will be people who will not agree with the vocabulary that you have, or the collection of words that you have, or the poetry that you are creating. That is completely your own thing, which nobody can have the same thoughts or the same framing of words, framing of sentences. Nobody can do except you, like
Yes.
that,
Yeah.
in that particular way, because
Right.
you're so strong in, in believing yourself, and trying to question everything, and you're doing that through your that collection, right? When you're expressing it, definitely there will be opposite force. How will you handle that?
It's a good question. Because at the end of the day, like my poetry is my life. Like that's. like there's no separation, right? Like, I'm always working on the poetry, I'm always living the poem, kind of thing. Um, and I run into a lot of opposition, you know, um, and at the end of the day, you just have to learn how to say no. How to say, and how to trust yourself, and this kind of a cliche thing, but if you don't believe in yourself, if you don't have the and the willingness and a lot of it too came from just being put in a corner, just being like, you know, this isn't for me, that's not for me, this isn't, like I just like growing like a dissatisfaction and a pain that were rooted in just not feeling at home, not feeling, like comfortable here, with like I look around and I see a lot of chaos, I see a lot of chaos, and it doesn't make much sense. You know what I mean? And I see a lot of people who are willing to sell themselves basically to anything that promises them relief, or comfort, And so, if you don't accept that, comfort is something that we need, that it's important to, you know, uh, feel safe and secure. If you cast that off, you kind of become something different than human. You start to see things in a different way, in maybe what I think is a truer way. It's more true because your perceptions aren't channeled into any values or beliefs. Like I hate to rag on values and beliefs, but ultimately, I don't believe we should have beliefs in or faith in anything. That we should like, why should I should know what's right. Like, I shouldn't have to believe in what's in or be told what's good or value what's good. I should just be able to do what's good, because
Yeah.
that's what a human being is good. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
where I should just express my true nature. It shouldn't have to be. Why should I have to worship this God or that God? Why can't I worship the God, that makes sense, that just,
Yeah. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
occurs to me in the moment, that I can touch, that I can, that that I can see. So I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know if that answers any questions, but I guess trust in yourself, trust in experience, it develops from learning how to say no, and learning how to go your own way, and then that paying off for you, that producing a stronger, and ultimately I think it does make you stronger. It makes you, if you don't have to depend on these beliefs, depend on
Yeah. Yeah.
anything, if you
Yeah.
know everyone's full of shit,
Yeah.
then you can just totally radically trust yourself and say, you
Yeah.
know what, I don't care, you know, because I know what I know, you know, because I didn't take anything for granted. I know that what I know is tested, because I don't worship what I know can be changed. Nothing
Correct.
can change.
Correct.
I
Correct.
don't
Yeah.
like it's the best program I have. Until a better solution comes about. So
So
yeah,
based on the information that you are getting from the world, uh, what you know may change
absolutely.
according to the time, and according to the surroundings, environment.
Yeah, I I get in a lot of trouble with the whole like idea of free will. You know, the idea that 'cause I do believe a lot of this is kind of predestined in a sense. Maybe like we have choices, or we can kind of mold our consciousness, our you know ability, but the events themselves, I don't know. I don't know if there's a lot of choice in there, or if it's just the illusion of us choosing. You know, like I think um, there's something like a lot of things I think come down to a certain fate, and just and I think a lot of things are subject to more laws. I like the idea of karma. I like the idea that there's some sort of there are more causal relationships happening than we can even that we care to see, that we want to see, and that ultimately kind of lead our lives. And maybe the trick is being aware of these. Being aware of the patterns and the behaviors that rule us. Kind of like there's something to it. There's something to the fact that people keep seeking out the same traumas, or people, you know, uh, keep finding the same partners, or ending up in the same situations. It just there's reality seems too scripted. It seems like it's sometimes it feels like a television sitcom. Sometimes like it feels very much like put together. Like at the same time that is chaotic, it's also like almost like how did this happen? You know what I mean? How am I talking to you
Yeah,
via
yeah,
Instagram? You know what I mean? And like it's just sometimes I feel that things happen the way they happen because that's the only way they could have happened. Like given like a science experiment.
yeah,
I or a program. You know what I mean? The programmer places the parts in place because he wants to affect the
yeah.
result.
Correct, correct.
We just don't know the result. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're saying that there is a purpose for everything.
I do believe that. Yes. Yeah. I believe that there's an ultimate purpose for this. Um, because
So what is that purpose?
I would have to say that there is some sort of, it has to do with, I don't claim to know any purpose, but I would have to say that to me, what makes sense would be some sort of transmutation or transformation of energy, into a more evolved or subtle, or, you know, a form that benefits
Okay,
itself, that,
okay,
that, the creation of new knowledge, new experiences are what you know lead to is what this is doing. It's like it's ultimately it's creating new experiences and it's refining those experiences. You know what I mean? Like it's like human beings started with fire and now we have Google. Like it's just it seems like we value information. You know what I mean? And it seems like that life started with very simple information and has now gotten to a lot more complex information just by the nature of us knowing what information is, or defining information, or what I mean, like valuing it. It's almost like we're like God is in a process of becoming. If you want to say God, or creation is in a process of knowing itself and thus attaining a sort of divinity, maybe you could say. Like what if someone from the past came to now, they would say we were God. You know what
yeah,
I mean?
yeah,
When I
yeah,
close, you know what I mean? Like I close my garage door, or I close or like I go in an elevator. Like that, this would appear like to be some sort of you know God-like technology, action at a distance. Like magic. I mean, it would. Yeah, I know that quote is said a lot, but it's true. You know,
but we,
and
the human beings, created this information technology. We are saving the information in the servers, and we are putting the servers in a safe place in the world, and we are trying to save the information. But these natural disasters are just destroying and just vanishing everything and vanishing the information. And yeah, and this is what happening since years. And still, human is trying to save the information and trying to send the information to the next generation, to the next years, to the next
yep,
100 years or next 1,000 years. So people who comes and who will take birth in that year can see what happened. This, what you and me talking in this particular time. If this video
right,
will be saved, they can see this. So can I say that the head of the creation don't want anything, don't want any information which happen. Uh, because if that information is there, maybe he's scared of his identity, or because if this information is there, definitely we human being can find God. Who is God? Where is God? Where he
Right.
created? What he is doing? What is the purpose of all these things? I think he's doing this purposely. That is what I believe.
I I agree with that. I agree with that. I think, I it's a or if you go to the Bible, knowledge of good and evil, or knowledge of knowledge of information, I guess, is the fundamental, sin, I guess you could say, the temptation. You know, the serpent brings essentially experience when he tempts Eve in the garden. When in that story, it's and so I think there's the power. The power is just there. The it's and it can be misused. It's a raw creative force that that I think you know ultimately can be used for good or evil. I suppose you could say. I think a lot of information is you know manipulated to enslave us. You know, There's
Yeah,
so much information is like entertainment. Like we're entertaining ourselves to death. I mean, the television is a familiar friend. You know what I mean? Like it's
yeah,
just like Netflix and chill or streaming, all this stuff. It's just like, what is the point? You know what I mean? That's just information.
correct.
Uh, Basically running a script in us that produces dopamine, or
Yeah,
whatever. If it's just
yeah, yeah,
serotonin, the chemicals that make us feel safe and comfortable and secure, and we don't have to watch the news. We don't have to think about the real problems, the real information, or the information that will affect change, or the
yeah,
information that will, free us, liberate us, essentially from the position, or cause us to create something. Instead, we're just kind of sitting by, and just taking information in to uh to please our own selfish needs,
yeah.
basically. So I think there's a great power in information that is known by those who want to abuse it, and those who want to take advantage of it to hopefully better, and hopefully create something, you know
And
that
there will be there are creators, there are directors, and there are writers who are trying to create a particular thoughts in people who watches their movies, or in their Netflix, or any content in
definitely.
any medium. They are sending that content into the minds of the people and creating the emotions that they wanted. If they are very good in understanding human psychology, and
Yes.
they can create the impact that they are expecting and that they wanted, if they are very good in expressing,
Yeah.
which is movie is one of the mediums, expressing mediums. I think director and producer is trying to send those thoughts, which is information, in a different way, so that
Yeah.
they can
Yeah.
grasp it and they can inject it and they can feel it. So can I say all the content creators are the rulers today?
Yeah.
I'm one
um
of those.
yeah, yeah, right. I mean, yeah, exactly. We both create content, right? I mean, we're working within a social media format, that gives us, like, let's not pretend like we don't enjoy the likes, enjoy
Yeah,
that this doesn't make me feel good when I get to connect with someone, and share this, and hopefully someone else benefits too. Um, but we have to acknowledge that that's part of it. Like, there's an ego element of it too. You know what I mean?
yeah,
There's it's not like a selfless thing that I I don't just put out poetry, on Instagram to, like to you know, because I just want to benefit people or whatever. I do it because, I also want people to read it, and I want to, be the best, kind of. There's a competitiveness to it too. Like I want to be good at what I do, and I want people to do like it and stuff too, and like me, I'm a human being, you know what I
Correct.
mean? And so we have to just acknowledge that there's that element of it. And I think you're right in like we work within these systems, and I think what I try to do, and I think like the kind of art you're talking about, it tries to take those systems and and work with them, but work within a way that subverts them in some way, in a way that can reach beyond, the limitations of social media, and sort of touch on something that is challenging. Because people don't want to be challenged. People don't want to they don't want to watch art that is boring or challenging or makes you think, like
Yeah, yeah.
or is sad or dark. I get that critique a lot. Like your poetry's too dark. It's too depressing. You know, well, I don't know. The world is pretty depressing. Like a
But
lot of times.
different people have different intelligence levels.
Yeah,
So
yeah, absolutely,
some
absolutely.
people, your poetry, I may connect with your poetry because I'm very good in going into, going deeper into the ocean, what exactly the meaning of that particular word is, what this creator is trying to tell me through his poetry, what he's trying to tell me. I'll come into your shoe, I'll put my leg into your shoe and I'll see and I'll try
Yeah,
to understand what exactly you're trying to say. Then I will know that okay, this guy is coming from this place and he's trying to tell this. Then I'll feel the effect. I'll feel you. I'll feel
yeah,
what you're feeling.
yeah.
So different people have different intelligence levels. So
I think
they
you're
may,
talking more too about an emotional intelligence there.
yeah,
You know what I mean? You're talking about willingness to actually empathize and to understand me. You're doing work
yeah,
as a reader. You know what I mean? You're actually caring enough to try and understand
yeah,
me,
yeah,
which is a lot to ask of people. You know, uh, in today's kind of media environment, I think people they want to see something that they can relate to immediately,
yeah,
or
yeah,
that's easily digestible. You know, something that like I write stuff that's cryptic sometimes, or like maybe perceived as cryptic, or nonsensical or confusing, because that's what I experience. That's reality. Like I a lot of times my experience is very doesn't make much sense, or makes a kind of nonsensical sense, like it's not it's not it, it, I barely relate to it. So I'm just, the truth is not fun. The truth isn't like life isn't fun. Life's boring. Life's like, I mean, like, let's, you know what I mean? And so, I mean, it comes down to, again, what do you want? What are you looking for when you're reading poetry? Or art, consuming art? Like, uh, I want something that's true, I want something that is real, I guess you could say. As cliche as that sounds, I want something that is the true experience of the author, and you can tell that. You can tell when something comes from a place that's genuine, and that's lived, not something that that's pretending, or something that is I have problems with prompts, like writing prompts. Like I can't be prompted to do anything, really. Like I mean, like if I haven't if I haven't experienced that, what am I writing about it for? You know what I mean? Like that's to me, it doesn't make sense. I have to write about something that I know about, or that I've at least this is what I this is where I come from. Like this is what if it so I don't know.
so you're very strong with
Yes.
I,
Yep. Yeah. but I feel like too, it's objective too. You know what I mean? Like it's I because that's all I know. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like I can't claim to know you,
yeah,
but
correct.
I can try to reach a place in myself that is not that is as objective as I can get. So I try to reach a eyeless place. Like when I say I mean the witness. The part of me that's watching the experience unfold. And recording that. Um, and there's ego in that too, but there's also there's a certain detachment that I think that's where the connection comes into for me is like if you can get to that place in yourself where you're able to watch the experience and not necessarily identify with it, you know, like not shape it immediately into an I, you know, that to me is where I develop my I, you know, is a place that doesn't really have an I, like it is the I. It's the only I know. It's that place that's watching everything. That's not really touched by anything. It's a witnessing. It's just this is happening. You know, okay, my legs being chopped off. I'm burning alive. You know, people are dying. But it's just watching that. Like I'm not my feelings. I'm not my thoughts. I'm not this. I'm not that. I'm just this pure awareness. You know, honestly. When it comes down to it, what do you have? You're not. I is not found any place in your body. You know, there's no like it's not your collection of experiences because that's just random really or preordained or whatever. It's meaningless. You know, I is what's here in the moment watching this.
So what is Midwest unblessed?
What does it mean?
Yeah, Midwest unblessed. What is this?
So it was originally a joke. it was in the United States, the U.S. we have a lot of like hashtag blessed, you know, um, feeling blessed, uh, bless this mess. There's like these like you would go into like a store and you'd have these like these signs or like I don't know if you ever seen the signs like keep on, keep on whatever, stay calm and keep on or you know little like live laugh love, you know these sort of like phrases or cliches that are repeated without they make you feel good like you know bless us, bless this, bless that. But really, it's like ultimately, what does it really mean? Is it something to put on a doormat or you know, a cheesy little thing? So saying Midwest and bless is just being like, it's just a rejection, I guess, of my culture or like an acceptance of the fact that like I come from a place where blessing and this that language has kind of evolved and sort of like the spiritual system and all this stuff. I don't relate to it. There's nothing relatable about it. So I just embrace this like Midwestern blessed. It's like this is it's ultimately kind of meaningless like to me because it's like but that's why it's funny to me because it's like it's the most meaningful thing in my life. Like it is ultimately a blessing. But you know what? But I can't say that because everyone's blessed these days. You know what I mean? Everything is like so blessed. Well, what does that really mean? You know what I mean? Like who's blessing us and like why are we being blessed? You know what I mean? Like it's just
Right.
funny to me that people, live life like that. Like I'm getting blessed, like praying for these blessings. These blessings are coming down, you know. You- Okay, you must have deserved it, right? Or like what, why am I blessed? What is that? So I just found it kind of cheesy at the time. It kind of sounded, it rhymed, and blessed is blessed, and I just kind of ran with it, I guess.
Understood. I understood now why you put that name. It's very thoughtful and meaningful. It shows what uh, person you are and why you, what kind of thoughts made you to put that.
Yeah, yeah. I I definitely grew up in a lot of and was in a lot of houses in the Midwest where those kind of signs where those kind of phrases and cliches were repeated and used and accepted as as just like truth, like and also I find like a lot of like there's certain like amount of poetry on Instagram that's just these kind of cliche phrases, like you know, that, like about love or about whatever that are just like things that we hear, like I don't know, if you love him, let him go, or and they'll come back, meant to be is they'll come back to you, or like just things we accept about like about love and life that are just they're meaningless because they don't we haven't lived them, and we never lived them, and they may not be true for us
Correct, correct,
anymore,
correct. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So it's a challenge to read my poetry with that name in mind, and see how it totally doesn't relate to that. There's none of that there, um, and see what you make of that worldview.
So, have you published any books?
I I have a collection of poetry that I tried to kind of self publish and get out there. I've
Okay,
since I've since pulled that back, taking that out, kind of out of circulation, if you will. Um, I just had a poem published recently in an anthology. That was my first time being published. And that's cool. Um, there's a couple of magazines that I've submitted to and stuff like that. But
okay.
I'm working on basically collecting 2 years of poetry and releasing that. So I that's the poetry is written. The book is being you know formatted and stuff like that. So it's just kind of the work of just writing, putting it in there, putting it into a format that using a program that produces a book. And I don't know if I want to publish it through someone, or that's kind of I'm leaving that up to where it goes. But I'm definitely just kind of getting the raw material out, that I want in the book to be put together. This is very very much centered around the last, I just started writing, I guess you could say. I started calling myself a writer about 2 years ago. Um, and it, very much one event in my life led to that. And this is a book that represents and channels that time period. Is very much rooted in what I was going through at this time. And so I want to kind of make that come through and make that the kind of the thrust of the book, I guess you could say. Yeah.
So, thank you for telling about you and your thoughts and
Thank you.
about a lot of things.
Yeah, I feel like I talked a lot, but hopefully didn't talk, hopefully just hopefully made some sense to someone, but but I appreciate
Definitely.
you listening to me at midnight, and rants about my poetry and my craziness. So, and I really appreciate the opportunity here to talk with you, and it's cool. It's really cool to meet someone who cares about this, and cares about our world, in a way that is gonna is going to have an impact because you're the only person who will, you know. If you want to, you know, you will, you know, like, so, you know, I'm glad that there's other people fighting the fight out there everywhere, you know, like,
There are a lot of similarities between you and me. I'm a tech guy now. I'm writing content in my websites. I'm a blogger. I have 3 websites where I write in the night. I'll go sit, write about something, whatever I experienced in that particular day. So you do the same. And we both are creating the effect and trying to create impact only by using our own vocabulary, what we believe, what we think, and what we believe this is correct. Questioning. I love that one you said, questioning. We will get answers only when we question, only when
mm,
we question. But there are a lot of people in the world who will be against to the questioning, who will
mm,
be
mm,
against to us, who will be against to our expressions. They
yeah,
don't want us to question. We say
no,
why, where, how.
yes, yeah,
So these questions give us answers, and these people, I mean, who ask questions, are going to face a terrible life, terrible. You know,
yeah,
they feel they'll be alone all the time because they don't take anything for granted. They don't take anything. They just don't want to be a follower. They
mm,
don't uh,
mm,
they don't want to be in a sheep's grove. They don't want to
mm,
be a sheep. So they
no,
just ask questions and they just why? Then I think there is a lot of similarities between you and me, and I think this tech subject uh, actually making us to be more logical, more go. I mean, it is making us to go more deeper. I think if I have did videos with the people who are not connected with the tech. They are not
mm,
so deep as like us. Like,
mm, mm,
because in this, when we are interacting with computer, when we are exchanging words with computer with our language, and there is a compiler between we and computer, which converts the language and which tells the computer about what we are feeling and what we wanted, what the result that we are expecting. There is a translator between we and the computer. But
mm,
here, and we understood this phenomenon, that language. So how to connect to the people, how to connect with the computer. We know, computer is very accurate. Like you should give exact command to get the result.
right and
So
wrong, yep,
yeah, right and wrong. It will be very very particular. So when we
mm,
do this in the social world, this will not work.
mm,
And when we use the particular command, the response will failure or no disagreement or
yeah, yeah, yeah. I understand.
well,
Yeah, there's a precision to language and a, a weight to it that an importance to it that I think that you're right. That I think people don't understand, like or
computers are
give.
very particular. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And
very
there's cause and effect. There's power there. You know
correct.
that like that you hold. You know when you approach things that way. You
Yeah,
know.
because
Uh,
it don't have emotions.
yes, you're right. You're right. You're right. And that's good in some way, right? I mean, or or wait, maybe not so much. We don't have emotion, but we know that emotions are a byproduct of
Correct.
the machine.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
know that emotions are not the end all be all defining factor of who we are. You know that it's just x, x plus y equals emotion, emotion
yeah,
z,
yeah.
you know and yeah, I think there's an objectiveness to computers, when you actually are the programmer or
Yeah.
view yourself as the programmer of your own experience. Then it's kind of up to you then to, you're responsible then ultimately for the emotions you feel, and
Correct.
how you deal with that is another program, you know.
Correct.
And
I
and
mean,
so yeah, I think
what?
that's yeah.
Yeah, what I'm saying is we will be very particular about language and words, and we will be very connected with the computer when it comes to language. But when it comes to people, when we are putting the same, when we are giving the same commands, or when we are giving the same words to human beings through our expressions, so they will not take it. The response will be different. But
Yeah.
we know the exact response that we get from the computer, but we'll get different responses from the human beings. So,
Yeah.
but we will be very particular compared to other authors or other poets who are not connected with the tech. They are more into emotion, but we will be very particular, and we understand emotions better, because we know the response that we get if we express a particular word or particular
Hmm.
sentence,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think that is the common thing that I observed in both of us.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we run the same operating system. We run. We have we share the language, and other people can kind of, I think, relate to it in some sense because they are computers, but they might not be right. They might not be right. They're Windows 95. And or something. And we're Windows XP or whatever. We are. Like it's there's a lag there. There's a separation there. Like because we have challenged. We have tried to structure a precise language, you know, and we want to do that. We know the importance of that. That language is all the power. Is within the language and within, and we can control that. Try to. So uh, that's yeah, that's an important point. Very important, um, because it's words, and poetry is ultimately very very powerful.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We are connected. So at the end, I want you to tell me about last question of mine, and in 1 minute, so that we can
Okay.
end this video. Yeah.
Okay.
So Python and English. Tell me.
What's that?
Python and English.
Python in English?
Yes.
The language? The computer language?
Yeah. Yeah.
What I
Python is
know
a
about it?
computer language. English is a human language.
Yeah. What about it? What about it?
You
Python.
tell me, because you are more into language. So I want you to tell about both in 1 minute.
So compare computer language to English language?
No,
In
Python. Python is a computer language, and English
Yeah.
is a human language, and you know
Yeah.
both.
I don't
You
know.
you
No, I
you.
don't know. I can't
I mean,
code
you
in
are
Python.
aware. You
What is
are
that?
aware of
I'm
it.
aware. I'm aware of the existence of Python. Yes. Yeah. I know
So
that.
that is a connecting medium, and this is also a connecting medium.
Okay. Okay. I,
And you are framing sentences. You know about language. Relate both.
so in Python, you're trying to um, code something that it, it, as far as I know, it's object oriented programming. It's you're planning for it's a logical framework. You're planning for events to occur. You're planning on choices. You're coding for. There's a superstructure there. If you look at the top down, like you have an end result in mind, I suppose you could say. You have a purpose, something you are there, that the meta program. So, like, if I'm creating a game, ultimately there's one ending of the game, you know, and and there's multiple ways to get there, and you have to basically start from kind of the end, and plan on all the different paths, and how those events are going to occur, and what the parameters are. Define the parameters for those events. Uh, Define, uh, you know how what losing, what winning means. What how you fail, how you succeed. In human language, I would say there is no, the purpose is less clear. You know, there is, people aren't, if they're not poets, I think poets probably operate from a perspective of knowing what they want to communicate and how they're going to do that, you know, because there's a certain framework of poetry or the poetic mind that uh, that uses language in a way which will produce a result, which will have effects. If you think, if you engage with it, if you're a computer of a certain uh, if you have the technology, if you have the capability of understanding language, you will receive effects from it. So I think I'll say this. I'll say that human language, communicating with each other, is it's either, if you are aware of the effect of language, and if you're aware of the purpose, if you ultimately start from the purpose you're trying to communicate and work kind of backward toward using the most effective means of communication, using the tools, language as a tool, rather than just as something that can you know entertain, or what I mean, like you give it the weight of the language. You say that this is the only thing. Ultimately, the world is made of language. Like everything is just language. Like I can only understand you in language. Like I see a body. I see buildings in the background. I see poles. Like this is how we perceive, how we structure the universe. So if you can't that's profound to think about. Like it's not actually like to us. I don't see atoms. I don't see the actual makeup of the universe. I see language.
Yeah.
Like I see the categories of my of like that's how I categorize experience. That's how I experience things. So that is you will always be relating that to people in language. So you have to use the right words if you want to express reality. If you want to actually communicate with someone, you have to use the right words. And that's so if you understand that importance of it, if you understand how language forms everything, you will you'll have to program. You'll have to do the programming. You know, you won't use cliches. You won't rely on you know reliance, or whatever. You give gossip. Like just use language like as some kind of lightly. You won't use words lightly, I guess. You won't take things lightly. Like you'll understand the seriousness of human language, because that's all the world is. You know. So
So,
if you're not creating with language, you're not living. That's what I'm
so
saying.
yeah. So
If
it's
you're not
great
writing a
talking.
program, you're not
Yeah.
programming, you're not actually living. You know,
Yeah.
you're running a program. You're not writing a program. If you're not a programmer, you're not aware, I guess you could say, on some level. And I want to be as aware as possible, because that's what that's I want to be the best programmer I can. I want that type analogy.
So
So that was way long winded, but I hope I arrived at some answer there.
yeah, you're very good, man. I really enjoyed talking with you. I really enjoyed uh, exchanging words with you, and meeting a person who is very close to my way of thinking. It's very, very good for me. I think I don't need to have food today. This is my food. 1 hour,
I I
ten
like that.
minutes
I like
video
that.
is very, very. I don't need to eat food. For 2 or 3 days, I'll be very, very happy to have this great conversation, and talking about something which is not regular, something which is not everybody
Yeah.
talk.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely going beyond the surface, and relating to each other in a way that's not usual and that's uncomfortable in some way.
Yeah,
You
correct.
don't we don't talk like this. No, people don't. This isn't how people talk. So it
So,
is. I agree. I like that food analogy. It is. It's nourishing in a way that like you want. That I want to connect to people like this, but I don't know how. And I'm glad that you reached out. I'm glad that we have this in common. And that we can have this
yeah.
medium to do it. And I appreciate it. So
I'm
thank
sure,
you.
I'm sure with your poetry and with your skills, with your effective, effective thoughts, I'm sure you will reach more people in coming days. I'm sure you will create the impact that you wanted in the world. For sure. And thank you so much for giving your valuable time. And it is your sleeping time, but still, you came and you gave your valuable time to me. I'll be very, very honored and I'll be blessed. Like you put your name, I'll be blessed.
Likewise, I wouldn't want to spend it anywhere else. I really appreciate the opportunity, and thank you. So wonderful.
So
Nice
can
to
I
meet you.
put so can I put this video on my YouTube channel, on my social networks and social accounts and on the internet
Yes,
with your permission?
absolutely, absolutely. Yep, definitely. Yeah. And,
Okay, man.
I appreciate it, definitely. So
Yeah, man. Have a good sleep and be healthy. Yeah.
you too, you too. Yeah, stay in touch.
Yeah, sure. We'll do in future one more video. Yeah.
Perfect. All
Thanks,
right.
man.
Yep.
Yeah.
Take care. Thank you.
Bye.